Board meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right. So again, welcome. This is the August 2nd Village of Woodbury Planning Board meeting. We'll start with administrative business, as the board had a chance to read the minutes from the July 19th minute.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'll offer a motion to accept those minutes.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
First item on the agenda, light bright signs, Harbor Freight, ARB review, proposed illuminated cabinet sign to storefront as well as placement of sign panels on existing monument signs. Said property is located at 23 Center Drive. It is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Maps, Section 225, Block 2, Lots 1.12. Good evening. Where did I put everything over here? Just your name and a quick rundown of what we're here for. I don't think your microphone's on. Is it? Okay. Just very quiet.
This is my second meeting here.
Yes.
I'm Maria from Light Bright Signs. I'm representing Harbor Freight. They're requesting a storefront sign and then panels for the two existing pylon signs.
All right. Natalie, I know we have a carryover, but I don't think there's anything on that worth, right?
Yes, we did have a carryover memo on this application, and the only thing I just wanted to kind of bring to the board's attention, we haven't received any revised material since the applicant's last appearance before you. And at that time, we discussed the banner sign. So is that still being proposed on the face of the building to the right of the entrance? Okay, because Sure. Okay, so as part of the site plan application for Harbor Freight, the board had basically indicated in that action that no signage was being approved, including the wall sign and the banner sign. We haven't received any information on the banner sign, although Kelly, I know, has crafted some language for the resolution regarding if Harbor Freight wanted to have a banner sign, they would have to comply with the requirements of the code, and that's listed in the resolution. So I guess at this point, the applicant is saying they are not applying for the banner sign. So either you can strike that condition from the resolution, or if, Maria, you think there needs to be some flexibility for the applicant if they want to have a banner sign, the planning board could consider that.
I'm thinking that was the other applicant before you for Harbor Freight with the banner.
Yes, it was, and at that
So-
time, the board said they were going to review signage all at one time as part of this application and excluded the banner sign, so.
Oh, they shouldn't have done that. Because I don't have information on the banner sign.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't part of my application.
Sure.
So in that case, we do have a condition that says they either have to comply with the code, or you could revise that and say, no banner sign is being approved with this resolution. If they want one, they have to come back.
So you can't review it with the other applicant that proposed it?
They didn't give us anything to do. I think we all thought it was going to be part of one
Can we leave
signage
it in there?
application.
Just
Yeah, and that action's been completed. They received approval for their site plan, so they're no longer before the planning board.
Yeah, we can leave it in there.
Yeah.
So it really depends on how the planning board then wants to proceed.
Right.
I didn't propose a banner, so I'm just before you for what I've always been before you. The storefront sign and the pylon panels.
How do we feel about leaving the banner there?
I think leave it in there, they gotta comply.
Yeah,
right?
just comply with.
Okay.
Yeah.
They didn't give one of those either, so
No.
don't worry.
Yeah, it's.
There's nothing before you to consider on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not even with the other applicant.
So they would just have to comply with the regular signage code for the banner then, correct?
Right.
Or come back in front of us.
If they want to go with something.
Yeah, so I can revise that condition and just say no banner sign is being approved by this resolution. If the applicant desires a banner sign, they can comply with the village code, which will require them to come to you.
Yeah, why don't we just update the resolution so they have to comply with the signage codes for the
Yep.
banner, and if they want anything outside.
Then they have to
then
reappear.
They have to come
Yeah, that
back
works.
this way. Okay. All right, do we have any questions for the applicant for Natalie? Okay. All right. So we have a draft resolution in front of us. So on page 3, the existing piling sign exceeds the restriction of the number of colors permitted in connection with multi-tenant directory signs, 3 colors, which is a legal pre-existing non-conforming condition. No variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals are necessary. This application is exempt from the current moratorium as the project involves an application for planning board and architecture review for signs in accordance with Village Code 310-30 and permits in conjunction therewithin, exemption number 6. So specific conditions. And then Kelly, I'll just let you, I guess, update number 5?
Yep.
Okay. So number 1, all conditions of prior approval in connection with this property shall continue to be in full force and effect, and this resolution does not supersede or otherwise modify such prior approvals and conditions except as specifically set forth in this resolution. No building permit shall be issued authorizing construction of structures inconsistent with architectural renderings submitted to and approved by the Architecture Review Board as part of this approval, nor shall any CO issue for any structures constructed except in conformance with such renderings. Any deviations from such renderings will require further planning board review. Prior to the signing of the renderings, the applicant shall comply with the memorandum of the village engineer dated June 2nd, 2023 to the satisfaction of the village engineer. Signs shall only be illuminated during operating hours, and I'll punt for number 5.
No banner sign is being approved by this resolution. Should the applicant desire a banner sign, they shall be required to comply with the village code provisions relative to signage. That way, in case any provisions are changed,
They still haven't, okay. So I'll offer a motion to accept the resolution as modified.
Second.
Second, any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
So does that resolution go to the building inspector so we can get a permit now?
Yes. The council will send for me to sign it digitally, and then it will be sent over to the building inspector. Don't go too far.
Yes.
Light Bright Signs, Hampton Inn. Discuss and review ZBA decision for ARB review of 2 signs proposed for the Hampton Inn located behind Woodbury Center. Said property is located at 60 Center Drive in Central Valley and is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Map, Section 225, Block 2, Lot 1.11. Welcome back.
So I am back, I went to the CBA, for this application, and I was approved, and then I'm back to where I started, with new challenge. For a side elevation sign and non-illuminated welcome, letters for the canopy, porch shed, canopy, I can't say that word, but, and nothing changed, same application.
All right. So, Natalie,
Sure. Again, we just provided a carryover memo on this application since no new materials were received. And just to reiterate what Maria had said, the ZBA approval was on July 12th. There were conditions of the ZBA's action, which we listed in the carryover memo, and I'll just note them for you now. No trees may be removed to make the New Hampton Inn sign more visible, and the welcome sign may not be illuminated. So if you agree with those conditions, you can carry them forward to your action, to the planning board's action, just to memorialize them. Our comment letter from December 29th, 2022 only has really 2 outstanding issues, I think, and that is confirmation of compliance with the code requirements for sign illumination and confirmation that the sign area is less than 10% of the total wall area, which I believe it is complying. It just should be clarified on the plans prior to their signing. And then otherwise, I think the only outstanding actions on this application are seeker and a decision on public hearing.
what GML referrals too, right, is outstanding?
I'll defer to Kelly on that.
it was sent in. Let me see.
I got a stack of them back in my paperwork, but I didn't get a chance to look to see,
Yeah, just give me a second, let me look.
because that would hold up.
We got it from the DPW. They got back to you. They don't have any comments. And local determination from the planning department.
All right, so good, we're good on the 239. All right, so I'll make a motion to type this as a type 2 on the secra.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing, yea or nay?
Nay.
No.
I'll offer a motion to waive the public hearing.
Second.
And, any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Anybody have any other outstanding questions, concerns, or comments on this one?
Nope.
No.
I'll make a motion to authorize council to draft a resolution of approval and memorialize the ZBA's conditions.
Sounds good to me.
Was that a second?
That's the second.
Okay, any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, I caught something you said before that I have to add something on my renderings about 10%.
Right, just a confirmation that the sign is no more than 10% of the wall area that it is on.
Okay, so I need that before the building inspector looks at it again?
So what typically happens is the board just authorized council to prepare a draft resolution of approval, really without, I think, that information. The resolution always contains a condition that you have to comply with our most recent memo, and that comment is in that memo. So once the resolution is signed, we'll review the renderings, or if you provide me with that information, I can sign off and say that you have complied. And we'll write a letter saying these are good for signing and send them to the chairman. And then after the plans are signed or the renderings, the building department can issue a permit, essentially.
So is that done at another meeting, or
The only thing that has to happen at another meeting is an action on the resolution of
so
approval.
there is a whole other month then left?
It depends on how the chairman sets up the agenda, but the building department would let you know when you're back on. It could either be in 2 weeks or it could be in a month. I won't say it could be in a year, even though that was the next
Yeah.
step, but that would have been just me.
All right, so two things have to happen. We have to make a motion on, we have to take action on the motion or the resolution, and you have to get that final bit of information over to Natalie. Because council won't let me sign anything until Natalie says it's okay, so.
Okay, so we're not sure yet then, if there's another meeting.
There will be another meeting. We're not sure which one you'll be on.
Presume you'll be on the next meeting in 2 weeks, so presume you want to get everything to Natalie prior to that.
Okay, with the revision of that the sign is no more than 10% of the building fascia on that side of the elevation.
Correct,
Okay.
yep.
All right.
And just add it to the plans, just in maybe just writing or,
Yeah, red ink is fine. That's
You
fine,
just-
as
you need
long
the
as
supporting
information
dimensions,
is there.
correct?
Yeah, the dimensions of the wall area, and then the dimensions of the sign, and confirmation that it's less than 10%, okay?
all right, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night. Item number 3, the applicant has rescinded their application. So we go to number 4, Hartman, ARB, 88 Jefferson. Review and discuss documents submitted for ARB and ridge preservation, a proposed 2-story addition to an existing single-family dwelling. Said property is located at 88 Jefferson Street in Highland Mills and is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Map, Section 240, Block 1, Lot 9. Good evening, Larry. Been a little while for this one.
This was originally submitted to the planning board.
You all right?
That's it. Almost a year ago. And the reason that this got pulled a little bit is because there was a misunderstanding about the current zoning. The zoning was changed in the middle. Meanwhile, we got original approvals and sorted out everything. That actually is then, as far as the zoning board, then the addition does not apply
So I think last time you were in front of us, Larry, you were discussing that this is a private mikvah for the residents, but it needs to be able to be shared. So I think it's private, but you still have to have an outside entrance to it.
Correct. That's by biblical law. You need to have that. But it's also a comfortable thing to have it go outside. But that is something you would have to have.
So what makes it a private mikvah? Sure, yeah, private mikvah.
Private is basically somebody who uses it for themselves versus a public, which is usually located in a shul facility or a public building facility where public people would come and they would, and it's designed for the public. It's a completely different type of use. It would have usually different amenities where somebody is going to collect money to pay money. It's different. It's a different type of use.
No, I get it's a different type of use. I'm looking at the design, and I'm looking the design that we've seen with other mikvahs, and it's fairly close in design. The sitting area, the dressing room, the hand washing station, the pools for the water. So
So basically, we got again, similar, white, but, again, the big itself is not gonna be very large, people, you can see that. Probably doesn't fit more than, 2 people in it. Again, I don't think it's a very large place to be a public picnic.
I guess, is there a way, because I'm sorry to interrupt, I don't understand the difference, but I'm trying to. Is there a way that the board would be able to restrict this to make sure it's private and then not used for public? How would they be able to do that? I don't know. I'm sorry.
that's the dilemma that's wrapping around in my head. We've seen private mikvahs before. They actually were smaller. They didn't have all the other accoutrements. That's why my head is turning here. I get it. I don't really take obsession. I just want to make sure this doesn't turn into the neighbors are coming over and everybody starts coming over and using it.
Yeah, then you would have to look at traffic.
It is a private house, it's not a shul. I don't think the person who lives there is really interested in having this as the public mikveh. He has his pool behind it. This is not a shul or anything like that. And it's not very big.
I can't see I don't have my computer. What are the dimensions of the actual? If you can read that, you're a better man than me.
The actual is including the steps, it's 8 foot long width.
So it's really like a big hot tub
I
almost.
was just gonna say, so how big would one be used that was in a shul, let's say, compared to
Oh, look
this?
at the one that they just did at Catskill. It's like an indoor.
It would usually be 8. Sometimes we'll have 2 sets of stairs for someone to go in and
Okay.
out. It has to be the minimum to be comfortable. It would have to be about 12 by 12, something like that.
So how many people do you think fit into this?
Technically 2, because if somebody stands where it says up, other person can't really go out.
Okay.
Because he's blocked it. The way usually make the design is people go towards a wall.
Right.
And there's an alleyway in the middle. So either there's only one wall in the alleyway. There has to be at least 6 feet, like 3 foot per person. Then you don't have over there about 2 people within 4 feet altogether between the steps. If somebody walks in and somebody walks behind them, it's not that type of.
You really got to like the person that's going in.
Yeah, real cozy.
No, I'm just what Larry says makes sense. If you look at the overall dimensions of the addition, and then you take out all the other stuff that's next to it, it's really just like
Yeah, it's a hot tub.
a big hot tub.
Yeah, I'm okay with it myself.
We're just trying to the threshold issue because if it is public, then we have to look at other
Other things.
things. If it's private, then we don't have to look at those things. So.
Well, that's why I was asking, amount of people that can fit in compared to the other ones.
Can you walk?
Usually the other ones have large dressing rooms, you see that.
Yeah.
Very large dressing rooms versus small rooms designed for a single or 2 people,
And it does look like this. And it looks like, yeah, and it looks like you changed the plan. Originally, I don't think there was actually an entrance from the interior. Now it looks like you can come through, down through the unfinished basement and then, sorry, I cut you off.
No, Larry, would you mind walking us through a bit of how the user uses the space? Would they, like, from the first floor, do they go outside and walk around, or how does that work?
Basically, the person would walk in, he has, place where he would, how's it called? The dressing room, his spa room, okay? It's either a sauna, some people put a jacuzzi, or some people, most of the time sauna. And the toilet is self-understood. And that's basically what it has. Has a wash, has a small laundry closet, which you would need in any spot. The bar for food,
What's the bar?
just food, you're inside, again, now, also kind of closet, in 4 foot 10 height, nothing big. And then it has the front, like where you walk in. Other than that, it has a sink, wash, that's all the rooms it has. Then the other boxes you see is the mechanicals behind it.
Are the mechanicals the reserve pools and main reserve pools? Are they like underground?
Yeah,
Or like, yeah, like you'd see an HVAC machine or something?
no,
I don't know.
it's not something that a person walks in. The way it works is that pool is collect rainwater,
Right.
and it has to sit there, real rainwater, and it's connected to the whole, which is basically that's how the rainwater becomes a rainwater.
Okay, and that's
This
the,
is it's like unfinished, doesn't have tiles, doesn't have, it's like a pit.
okay, got it.
So when you say main reserve pool, it's not actually an open pool. It's like a plastic tank or something that contains the rainwater?
Yeah, so when it doesn't rain, when it does rain, it goes into the reserve pool. The reserve pool is a little bit raised. And at the bottom it goes into those 2 pits.
Okay.
So what happens when the pits gets empty? It has to have new water in, but it didn't rain for a while. The reserve pool is gonna get the rainwater into the pits, which is gonna be connected to the main.
To the mitzvah.
You know what I think it is? I think the word pool is what's throwing, instead of reserve.
not an exact pool.
I think we've seen it as tanks or storage in other.
There's a lot of laws about it. One of the things is you can't pump out the water, it has to come natural. So the reserve pool has to be always.
Has to be a little bit higher,
Higher.
slow it.
And it's open, you just have to, you close the opening, you open the opening, that's the way it works. So the bottom of the pool is usually the height of the top of the pit.
So that main reserve then is gonna be under the proposed new deck so that it can get the rainwater?
Yeah.
I'm getting this.
Yeah,
It doesn't go from the ceiling, it usually
Oh.
gets through the drain,
Okay,
and then.
right, usually,
You wouldn't stand up there with the rain.
I think in the other buildings you've seen, they've connected the downspouts and everything to it, or they have some of the bigger ones, they have rain gardens or something that they'll use.
Basically, the rain on the roof goes into a gutter, that goes into the reserve pool, and you always take from the reserve pool, then it's refilled on the.
Okay. Is there any connection to the public water to supply water to these pools or to this facility, or is it all by rainwater?
If there's some times where there's no, how's it called, rainwater, they can use some of it, I'm not sure. But mostly it's the rainwater.
Is there any like filtration or backwash required for the filtration system that wouldn't be needed for
No,
this?
Again, it's basically, say, machine, that's also another thing, you can't have it for running.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's to be sitting water. So there is such a thing, like inside basically, when it takes in water, gets it out, things that it gets it out. But something, a private vehicle usually doesn't have all those, because it doesn't have a volume. That person has an outlet, he doesn't drain the water constantly. Like how much was he on the deck or something like that, like if it's 60
Yeah,
or something,
understood.
it wouldn't drain the water constantly, it would just.
Yeah, I think one of the things, not to jump ahead to our memo, but is we've asked for the projected water and sewer demand form and confirmation that, you know, this use as a mikvah would not impact the water demand for the property. And it sounds like on occasion there may be. So I think that the volume of the pools or however, if you can estimate that for the planning board should be included within this.
There's an additional bathroom being added anyway in the basement, so.
Right, and you know, and I know, unfortunately, like for residential homes, it's calculated by bedroom only. So, for this purpose, it would really come down to the pools itself. And I think really for like a church or a synagogue, the water and sewer demand calculations are based on like the number of attendees.
Okay.
So,
What was my understanding that if you don't add a bedroom, which means it's gonna have the same amount of applicants in the house. won't increase.
So where's the initial water come from? Where's the initial water come from? So
Like when they fill up.
when you,
When it first
when you,
fill it up.
when you first put it in?
Has to be from the rate.
So if we have, no-
Open sometimes, and wait 3 weeks for water.
Wow.
And it's kind of a big thing when the water comes in and it's and you can actually use it once again. There's no such thing as pumping water.
so if we're in a dry spell for 6 months, the guy can't, they can't use,
That's why reserve pools are made for.
but that would be after,
Yeah.
Okay.
So usually, before you finish a house, you would try to finish that area, the reserve pool, to kind of catch the first rain.
I gotcha.
So the pool will never take municipal water.
But that
It will never take municipal water.
would never take me,
Public water.
Public water. Only rainwater.
only rain.
Okay.
It's designed for that, and you can't pump in water.
Okay.
Pump, I think, so.
well, I think, Larry, you just said before that it could take public water if there was a drought.
I think it could if you mix it or something like that, if there's such a thing, but most of it is gonna be rainwater. But I know for sure the first time you definitely have to wait for it, because I have experienced a lot of times where the models are great.
Yeah, you're hoping for it, right?
Yeah.
Said you're hoping for it.
Yeah, so that I know for sure, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with every rule of it, I'm familiar with the technology and stuff that's built. But that I know with just experience, constantly looking for the rain and waiting for it, so.
Right, so I think that there are a couple of things, again, just kind of back to this comment about the projected water and sewer demand forum and estimating how this use for the mikvah, separate from the residential use, could impact the demand for this property, unless Larry would agree to a condition that there is no public connection for the pools, and that's something that can be enforceable.
So that I told next, but it was my understanding that people had a gym or additional bathroom and anything else. When it comes to residential, it goes by bedroom. When it comes to an assembly building, it goes by.
The number of
additional.
occupants, yeah.
And it seems to be the same occupants doing, if he's gonna take a shower when he goes to the mikvah versus, doing it the same upstairs, it's the same occupants. It's my understanding that it does not.
Right, but you've also said that neighbors or other people could be using this as well. Right, so,
Be able to, you can go on 10 years and never use it. Right? And you can invite somebody, you can invite a guest over also to a house or something like that. It's special. How I believe by the religious code, that's how residential house is located. It's not, that's how you can't say that. It's not.
right, but,
Play around with the rules like,
well, I don't think it's really playing around with the rules that by adding this use as the mikvah and saying that it could be shared with others, you're kind of indicating that there could be a increased demand in water.
that it can exist.
It has to be.
No, it's not has to be shared. Originally, when the rules, you don't have to be able to share, because the public cares if somebody who basically builds something for themselves, closes off and doesn't have a door around it. It's kind of, there's like, you gave out a couple of 30 or 40 things that you're not allowed to do. One of the things is, it has to be a door. It's like, it's sentimental, it's something you have to physically provide people. But in anything, let's say you go to the gym, if you go to the gym and you go to the bathroom, it's my understanding that it's not considered a piece of water. You technically like somebody. And it's gonna increase if they do that, but
Right. And I mean, forgive me if it's too much back and forth and, but I think the point here is that if this was to stay solely a residential use, then certainly there would be no issue with just calculating the water and sewer demand based on the number of bedrooms. But you're adding an additional use by having this mikveh, private or not, that could be used by others, and also there may be a municipal connection to these pools, which could increase the water and sewer demand. I think,
Again, I'll do the calculation, but the calculation is mostly going to be based on what the village code said, which
yeah, no, it has to be. I don't want you to do anything other than that, yeah.
it's calculated the amount of bedrooms, and I'm going to show the amount of bedrooms of existing, show the amount of bedrooms of the new. It's not going to change.
Well-
That's how the village code tells them to calculate.
It's actually, the estimated water and sewer demand form would be based on the DEC's intermediate wastewater treatment systems, right, standards. And then again, if you're gonna call this a religious use and say it's a church or a synagogue or something similar,
It's not going to, it's a prohibited mikveh. So it's just like somebody's adding a gym. Call a mikveh, a gym, you can technically invite somebody. Maybe you can technically invite somebody. If anything else, or a big, let's say you get a large room, large dining room, you add additional bathroom to it. According to the village code, it's not adding additional water, unless you add additional person. Even though you can technically add something.
Does,
Why would
Well,
the religious mikveh be different than the gym?
Well, I'm not sure that we're concerned about the bathroom. So say you invited somebody over to use the gym, they use the bathroom's gonna be on public water supply.
Right.
I think what she was saying was that the reserve pools and main reserve pool, if maybe you could talk to your client, and I guess hot tub, but you said hot tub comes from those two others, that those pools, there be a condition that those not be connected to public water, because you said that you wait until it rains.
Again, to me, I don't see the difference between a gym and a religious pool.
Okay.
A gym that has a bathroom, why would they have to be restricted because that's going to add the pool?
But I mean, if you're,
Why is a religious pool different?
well, I don't
because
actually,
it
yeah.
contains water, and the other one contains barbells.
And if you can that, shower also contains water.
Which I'm saying the shower could definitely
Again, so
be hooked up.
but I want to wind it back a second. But does adding the mikveh automatically make it a religious use because there's no place to pray there?
Not my determination.
But that leads to what I think if it's, I mean, take it even simple. This is, to me, it's no different than if a person goes and gets a permit to put a pool in their backyard, right?
Right.
This is just a pool, much smaller in size, and I'm not trying to degrade what it is, but much smaller inside in a house. So they wouldn't be required to put in a water and sewer demand or get a waiver from the village board if you put a pool in, because, so why would he need to?
I don't weigh in on water and sewer. I was asking a lot of questions to understand, but I think that Natalie's concern was just that she doesn't have a problem, and I don't want to speak for you, so if I am, just let me know, that it didn't sound like she had a problem with the use or any of that. The bathroom's fine, the spa's fine. I mean, it all sounds very nice, actually, but just not to fill the, it's like if you require a truck to fill the pool for the initial time. And I think that was the concern. I don't, but I don't know. I mean, that's the whole thing. Does it change the use? I don't know. But it may be something that you want to see information where, I don't know how many people live in the house. Say there's 4 people that live in the house, and then if you go to these calculations and it's 4 people, I don't think that that's going to actually kick you over that threshold. But I defer to you and to Natalie.
No, and I'm just trying to
understand
follow the, and I get what Natalie is saying, and I understand his concern if it's connected to the municipal water system. But right now, I could go to Lowe's or Walmart and pick up a 2-foot by 10-foot round pool. I don't need a permit.
I know.
I don't right now.
No, I know.
And I could put whatever that amount of gallons of water in there.
Yeah.
No fuss, no muss, nobody's gonna know about it off the
Yeah.
municipal system. So I just don't wanna see an applicant have to do additional work or go for a waiver that they potentially won't need or don't really need because it's nothing more than a pool.
An indoor pool.
And the same as if you're putting a pool in, you got a tanker to fill it initially, where they're gonna have rainwater filling initially. But as it evaporates, you use municipal water to replenish the water in the pool.
Right, well, and I
That's-
think, yeah, that's like the sort of the difference, right, is that, you know, an exterior pool may not have a direct connection aside from you running a hose to it. If this has ready access at all times, you know, for, you know, say it's on a float or something, when the reserve pools get to a certain point, all of a sudden the float kicks on and, you know, the municipal valve opens
So
and.
then if he had a spigot next to it and it wasn't directly connected, that
Well,
would
that's
be-
what I mean. I mean, there's certainly, I think, conditions of the planning board's action, you know, if you kind of want to lean towards that being the appropriate measure, that it shouldn't have a direct connection to the municipal water supply. But really, the point of the comment is, I think just boiling it back, is that the projected water and sewer demand form still needs to be completed, and we've asked for the applicant to kind of confirm compliance that there's going to be no increase in water usage at this time. There is another threshold issue, though.
Oh, yeah, we haven't gotten to the variance thing yet.
So if I should.
Go ahead.
Okay. So Larry, we did kind of resolve all of the setback issues based on you having found the subdivision plat and confirming that the code provisions have changed since that time. Your plan doesn't demonstrate compliance with the coverage requirements of the zone, so the maximum is 20%. A rough scale looks like the existing condition is over 20%. So adding this addition would then require a variance because you're increasing the degree of nonconformity.
On the original subdivision, was it 20%?
It didn't have it noted on the plan, but it is 20% required for the zone, and we did get an opinion from the building inspector. I can forward that to you if you'd like. But so that's something that you need to demonstrate on the plan, and also I think that this should be referred to the ZBA for that issue.
Okay. Now, a question, if on the original subdivision, which was a cluster subdivision, it was, which means everybody's like getting a little bit smaller, a little together. The big cluster, the big open green space, and because of that, you usually get bigger lot coverages, less setbacks, things like that. And if I do find that the original was, say, 25%.
Sure. Yeah, please present that information.
Tough one, but take a look at that.
Yeah, so
I know now it's different because the whole zone was changed, because it was a cluster, which gave away
Right.
because of that, so.
Yeah, so right now, I know the way the cluster code reads is that if it's like in the R2A zone, it has to comply with the R1A zone requirements. So, you know, again, Mike has confirmed that it's 20% for this lot. If you're able to kind of confirm that it was different at that time and that it complies, then, you know, we can review that with Kelly and Mike.
Or you can, you can provide the calculations too and see if the estimates that we have.
The full calculations of the set that existing kind of based
Yeah.
on the rough,
Right. It seems like it's over already.
I guess I'll have to go to the zone board for that.
Right. I think that the planning board has kind of discussed the comments on the public-private issue, but if at the last meeting you had requested a written narrative, I'm not sure if you would still like Larry to provide that for the file, or if you're satisfied with the verbal comments provided. And then, you know, the rest of our comments are on ARB and ridge preservation, and I think that, you know, they're relatively straightforward for Larry to address on his next submission, so I will avoid talking any further. And ultimately, we'll look for information on that coverage issue, Larry, to see what goes on next.
So overall, though, other than the couple of issues hanging around out there, what do we think about how it looks, how it fits in?
Yeah, it matches the house. I mean,
It's just a
honestly,
small
from this-
bump out on the left.
Yeah, I was
so-
gonna say, from the street view, you could barely tell. I'm okay with it
Evan?
myself.
Yeah, I agree. It does match. You
Yeah.
can barely tell from the street.
Yeah, I mean, really, you gotta really look close between the two
Yeah.
pictures to see the difference.
Rich?
Yeah. Now, look, page 3. First paragraph says the home is gonna be 6,800 square feet.
Right.
How does it get to that again? 'Cause
Sure.
I'm looking at the current size and his plan on page, that's 101.
Right.
I can't get to the 6,800 looking at
So,
101?
yeah, so,
Unless something's missing there.
well, there is, yeah, so Larry's table only includes the first and second floor, but it doesn't include the basement floor column. So, right off the bat, first of all, one of our comments in the memo said that the building footprint is 2,000 square feet, but then both the first and second floor are listed as 16 and 15, so the difference of 400 is kind of confusing. So presumably, at least the first floor and the basement floor, based on the floor plans, are 2,000 square feet, so that's 4,000. Plus the second floor, which is 15.5, that's 4,000 plus 1,500, 15.5, or 5,500, sorry. And then adding the 750, which is the proposed addition, which would be also on the basement and the first floor, is another 1,400. So that's approximately 6,900 square feet.
So do we, does he have to revise this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that's one of our comments.
That was my question. And then the other thing is, the note above it says trees should not be removed. But if you look at your pictures, there's a tree removed on the page two. Is that just a rendering or,
Trump, yeah, I guess that's another issue.
okay, so he
Trump is not really touched at all, so.
what about the back? I don't see any pictures of the back. Since you have to come, I think you got the back before the board. Yeah, if you can show us a picture of the back, what it looks like, and then just correct this is upside down. This,
Oh, I think that, yeah.
and then the only question I have is this, I'm not familiar with that street. There's a strip of land in white right behind the property.
Yeah.
What is that?
This was original a cluster development, which means you take a lot of, you take a lot of little smaller, you take all the extra land and combine everything.
Is it green space?
So you see the one right across, you see the cross has those, it has a large lot in the middle, that's the green space.
It is this one here.
This is green space in the back.
Is this green space also here?
Yeah.
What is this big thing?
Green space. So this is the development.
Yeah.
So they gave a large green space over here, a little bit over here. So that's part of the original subdivision, which we gave away.
Do we have to have that noted on the thing?
That is green space?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I didn't know what it was.
That's on the original subdivision
Okay.
maps.
It could be that it was like a buffer for those lots that was required at that time. You see that with like the WP3 subdivision, there's a buffer around.
Yeah, if you look at the original subdivision maps, there were notes on there about it being dedicated for evergreen. And
Okay.
I know somebody else in that neighborhood wanted to clear it, and the building department had told them,
So
no.
it's probably trees, right?
Oh, yeah, I would assume so.
When you take the pictures of the back, you can just show us that.
It has a pool, as that space, there's the house.
Yeah.
There's a space where no addition is gonna go, and there's a pool, and then there's that.
Okay.
So we're not gonna touch anything past in between the pool and the house.
Are the trees in the front being removed, or? Okay, that's just the rendering, right?
Yeah.
You'll
One of them
re-render
is
it and put it back
actually
in.
Still there, but like got moved behind the house in the rendering. Because I was trying to find, one of them left and then one got moved behind the house. I was really confused, and then I figured out it was probably just like a rendering typo.
That's that new fancy AI for you.
You have to watch what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're doing it by themselves, but, you know.
Any-
They try a little bit too hard to address it.
Yeah. Any other questions, concerns, feedback? All right, so we probably should do the referral to the ZBA, right? Because it's most likely going to need the variance.
Yeah,
I think,
Unless I do the calculation, or if I find the original one had a different thing.
yeah, but I would have them do the referral at this time, that way you don't have to come back for it.
Yeah. If you don't need it, you don't need it, but you have it if you need it.
I think, and Kelly, the last referral that we did
Did it cover
include
those, yeah?
coverage, so does it count, or should we just
No, it
clean it
counts.
up because it includes a bunch of other things that are no longer applicable?
I don't, you could clean it up, but I think, Larry, you would know what you would be applying to the ZBA for, then it would be coverage. If
Okay.
you don't find anything else, so I don't think you need to.
Okay.
I do want to note to the board that I had also noted that there were some additional variances that were needed when I first looked at it, and then came across the other information that Larry had found. So that's no longer applicable to this, as Natalie said.
Right, so we're just down to coverage, right?
coverage.
Potentially down to coverage.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'll offer a motion to have Natalie make the referral to the ZBA for lot coverage.
I will second.
Any questions?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Does the board feel comfortable making a decision about a public hearing, or do you want to wait?
I don't think a public hearing would be necessary.
All right,
No.
I'll offer a motion to waive the public hearing.
Second?
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I have one more question on I'm looking at the site plan and the
Consider visibility.
basement floor plan, the first floor plan, and I don't see that stair. I see on the site plan you have a stair on the north of the addition, a single run stair. I don't see it anywhere else. Does that remove? Yeah, on the left page, left.
Yeah, so it's on S101, but it's not on A101.
Yeah, correct. There's, the entrance on the basement, you walk in, and that was on the side plan, it's not available.
Okay.
And for,
Blame AI for that, too?
I'll leave that for like more important stuff.
Got a little overzealous there. All right, any other questions, feedback? All right, so a little homework for you, Larry. So either we'll see you back here after your next submission, or after you come back from ZBA. All right? Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. We are number 5. Valley Seafood, review and discuss materials submitted for site plan, special permit, and ARB of a mixed-use building. Said property is located at 30 Valley Avenue in Central Valley and is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Maps, Section 230, Block 6, Lot 2. Good evening, sir.
My name is David Russell, with the design professional firm representing the project. This is our first appearance before you regarding this project. As mentioned, it's at 30 Valley Avenue. So there exists currently a 2,000 square foot, one-story building that I believe was used for wholesale distribution of fish. The building is a wood structure and has a loading dock already associated with the building. What we're proposing to do is renovate that existing one-story building and add a second floor to it. The one story, the first story would continue to be used as a commercial space, retail space. The second floor we're proposing would have 2 apartments, and that's what we base the design on. It's my understanding that this would be compliant with the code at this time, the zoning code for a Hamlet business district, and we are looking forward to moving along with the design. Have received the comments, and they are extensive, so we are definitely interested in the building department determinations, because there were quite a few, so I'd like to know how the building department applied on those concerns. And in addition to that, I appreciate Natalie's comment on page 2. We would definitely like to discuss any waivers that would be involved with this project.
So before we go to Natalie, I have just an overall how the site's going to work, being I pass this place every day. So when you're looking at the front of the building, and where you have this new paved parking area, right now he's got a 52-foot trailer parked there, and it's been there for I can't tell you how long. It's got flat wheels. It's been there so long. Next to that, he's got 6 sets of wood pallets stacked to the height of a 52-foot trailer. Next to that, he's got a cardboard dumpster, he's got a regular garbage dumpster, propane storage, a forklift, and a partridge in a pear tree. So what's going to happen to all that? Because there's no plan, there's nothing on your plan that shows where all of that stuff goes. And I can tell you right now, I followed up with the building department. He's been issued numerous violations for garbage and site property because there's no place, this place is overfilling with garbage. And then he also gets 52-foot trailers. There was one there the other day full of frozen fish that there's no room for them to maneuver. They actually have to park out on Valley Avenue, and they unload them with the forklift, and then they move the product into the building. So I'm concerned that how is the existing use going to continue to work with the way your new layout, because it doesn't work functionally now. And then on the other end, in number 4, that paved parking area with the diagonal parking spots, they keep Sprinter vans over there, and they hang out they already hang out onto Valley Avenue. So functionality, I don't get. What's he going to do? Like, what's going to happen with all that?
Yeah, well, it's my understanding that it's quite possible that the current use will be terminated and other type of retail occupancy will be on the first floor.
But right now, we have to look at it as the use that's there. So it's still an active, I mean, he was there today. I mean, he was getting a delivery today. So you're asking us to look at a plan right now, and maybe he's going to put the building up for sale tomorrow, but right now, he's still using it as a fish wholesale place. So, and even if the use does change to other retail, the plan doesn't account for, at the very least, garbage. So, I mean, that's going to cut into your I don't want to take anything from Philly. It's going to cut into your parking spaces and your traffic flow. There's also the swing path you have here for the box truck deliveries is actually a fire hydrant, like right where he's making the swing out. So functionality, it won't work. Again, not trying to take anything away from you. I'm just driving past it every day. I can kind of see how the place does and doesn't work already. So you add 2 apartments, a retail use. I don't know, it's gonna be tough with the current plan. That's my,
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a disaster over there.
it is.
It's a
It
disaster.
is, they found a little strip of land and I get it and they shoved the building in it and it just,
Plus, I'm not sure who would want to live above a fish market, but that's not for us to decide.
no, fish market next to the railroad tracks. Talk about a double whammy.
Bronx Fish Market.
Oh, okay.
We're not in the Bronx, Toto.
So, I mean, we know you're gonna be coming back, so those are just some comments I think you're gonna have to figure out how you're gonna address.
I kind of agree with you.
That's just off the top of my head. Anything else?
I think there's probably a lot that has to be figured out before it comes back.
Yeah. Natalie?
Sure. I'm just going to try to keep it really brief. I know you have my detailed memorandum, and ultimately I think that this does need to be referred to the ZBA essentially for lot area and density. One of the things that I did speak to Mike about, and we have a determination on, is that you are not subject to the net lot area deductions, so that does not apply. But even as it is, the 2 apartments plus the retail use requires more lot area than is available. So that's the variance that's needed.
Can you say that to us?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
To keep in mind the other.
No. So we will reach out to Mike and confirm that the non-conforming rear yard and front yard setbacks are legally pre-existing non-conforming and get his opinion on that. The other item that we had was the existing coverage obviously exceeds the maximum permitted by the code. Your plans indicate that you intend to restripe the parking areas, but are you proposing new pavement? And it seems like you probably are, just because some of the new parking areas would be in places where the pavement's in disrepair, or you'd probably have to push the pavement back a little bit to accommodate the spaces. So if you're increasing the coverage in any way, then that would also require a variance because it's an increase in the degree of nonconformity. And then the last thing that we will seek an opinion from Mike on is this requirement about an individual parking space being less than 10 feet from a street line. So we'll
Didn't we
get.
just do that with his other,
Yeah,
your other project?
yeah,
the
and it was
Matt?
applicable, I think, to that, so. So we'll talk to him about that and get you answers. And then I think the rest of it is really just, you know, we had some questions, you know, are the apartments 1 or 2 bedrooms? There were some discrepancies on the plan, not sure if you can answer that now. You know, how are the second-story apartments gonna be accessed? Are you proposing a stairwell outside, or is that gonna be internal to the building? You know, and if it is outside, then that should be shown on the site plan. And then I'm just gonna stop talking because I could go on, right? But I think the threshold issues, there needs to be a ZBA referral. And also we did have some comments on the EAF, that the applicant should update that. You know, although we defer to Kelly on seeker, and a public hearing is required for this at the appropriate time.
I question if we should make the ZBA referral yet, because we know there's some functionality issues in the plan that's got to get fixed. So I'm hesitant about sending a plan to the ZBA that's not like further along than where we are right now.
Well, I mean, it's a good point. So I think there's a couple of things. Just before I forget, Natalie said SECRA, you can declare your intent to be lead agency and type the action. That actually would keep that progressing before this board, before the ZBA would make a decision. But you could authorize the referral, but then, you know, it would be at the applicant's risk to not have the plans a little bit further advanced before you, because then it could go to the ZBA for a variance that is not in accordance with the plan that you would be approving.
Right, because they're going to look at this plan, and they're going to potentially base on
Yeah.
this plan, and then from feedback from us, from Natalie, from your client, the plan could change, or it's probably going to change.
I agree. I'd like to get determinations from the building inspector first, because they were about 4 or 5 long.
Yeah.
That impacted us quite a bit. I'd like to go back to the owner and get further definition on his intent, you know, for the building, and come back here, and then have that plan, our plan revised, at least somewhat in accordance with all of those documents that we received. And then I agree that if we got back to which appears, it seems that we will. ZBA at that time to review.
You miss us. You miss us at the ZBA.
I'm glad you see it, because I don't want to waste your time, your applicant's time, or the ZBA's time, because, you know, just everybody's time is limited, so. I give you a lot of credit. That's 2 tough projects, the same box you took.
I was gonna say, you take out
Yeah,
some,
glutton for punishment.
She did it to me. She said, you get always the tough projects.
He does.
Right after that.
I think I jinxed him.
Yeah.
He always gets the tough ones.
But yeah, the access issue is actually a good issue. I didn't even realize how are they going to get to the apartments on the 2nd floor.
Well, it's a 2,000 square foot footprint, even if we introduce an interior stair. And I mean, right now, my initial inclination is it would only need to be 1 means of egress, as long as the apartments have egress windows and things of that nature. You know, it's under the thresholds for multiple means of egress, per building code, so.
No, but if you need an external staircase because your client doesn't want to do an internal staircase, and you're going to have another.
We can't put it on the outside. There's no way to fit it. The site is so constrained with other restrictions, I would not recommend that at all.
Fire pole? And a rope?
With
A balloon?
that on top,
There you go. All right, so yeah, a lot of homework, so we'll wait for your next submission.
Did you want to start the circulation for lead agency?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to type 2 into SECRA, and declare as lead
Well,
agent.
not a type 2.
Whoa, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself on that one.
Unlisted.
Unlisted, sorry.
And declare intent to serve as lead agency.
what she said.
What she said. Second? Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that. Almost gave Kelly a heart attack.
A little bit. Just so that you can get some feedback from the outside agencies as well, that may be helpful.
I think absolutely, especially with this project, they definitely are. Is it reasonable to believe that we can get the comments from the building department and determinations by the end of the week?
I'll send him an email tomorrow morning, and I can't answer to when he'll respond.
Whatever you need to do.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. You architects and your big brains.
Wait till you get a 48-inch print.
Next item on the agenda, Woodbury Townhouses, review and discuss oh, crap, Phil, we totally missed you on that one.
You covered the items.
Oh, okay.
There's no dimension on the spaces. So
Sorry about that.
I'll send David my comment.
Okay, sorry about that, Phil.
That's okay.
We won't miss you on this one, though, I promise. Woodbury Townhouses, review and discuss revised plans and materials submitted for site plan, ARB water protection overlay, a proposed 12-unit townhouse. Said property is located at 6, 8, and 10 Falkirk Avenue, Central Valley, and is known as the Village of Woodbury Tax Map, section 231, lots 6.1, 6.2, and 7. Good evening.
Good evening, Jay Meyer, Associate Franklin Road, applicant, is our project engineer. I wasn't here the last 2 times this matter was considered by the board. I understand right now, the status is that we have a 12-unit townhouse project on the table with you. That's the site plan that's been submitted. It's on 3 tax lots. It is that there was a 7-unit townhouse development approved on 2 of the tax lots. We've since purchased the 3rd tax lot, increased the acreage by about a half acre, and 12. We've also applied to the Village Zoning Board of Appeals for either a waiver or a variance completed in the alternative, allows for 12 units, as we're right around, as of right, I believe we're at 10 units. So I believe at the last meeting, there was a question raised as to the viability of the original 7-lot plan on the 2 tax lots. I believe there was some discussion that the 7-lot plan would have less disturbance than our proposed 12-lot plan on the larger parcel. Mr. Morganti did an analysis and submitted maps and data to show that in fact the 12-unit plan on the 3 acres would have less disturbance than the 7-unit plan on the 2, I'm sorry, on the 3 lots, than the 7-unit plan on the 2 lots. And that's why the 7-unit plan was put back in front of you for comparison purposes. So it's still our position that the 12-unit plan less disturbance than the 7-unit plan that was previously approved by the board that lapsed. And we're here for the discussion.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Well, I think Jay summarized everything pretty clearly. So what I did provide was, again, for the board's consideration, 2 different plans. I showed you 50-foot right variance, 100-foot right variance on both cases. Calculated the fill, areas of disturbance, calculated it for you on the response time that I provided. With a little bit more tweaking, you might even be able to reduce the disturbance of the 12-unit plan accordingly, more so. Again, this is what we're here for, to discuss with the board tonight. We'd love to hear what the board's comments are, as well as your consultants, so that we can continue this discussion.
Okay. Anybody want to kick this off, or you want to go to?
Let's go to,
Okay. I'm gonna go to Phil first, this way I don't forget you.
So our April 28th memo still had a few outstanding items. One, Mike, was to show the site distances at the access connection to Falkirk. There was some discussion of the site distances at Falkirk and Smith Clove Road, and we were looking at some, ideas of recommendations of additional signing or what could be done to help deal with that situation and the school bus pickup that occurs at that intersection. It may be fruitful to have some conversations with the county on what signing can go in there, if there's additional signing that might be appropriate. And then the other item that, we started discussing last time is, for pedestrian movements from here, up to Smith Clove and going towards, the post office or any of the other uses there, how the pedestrians would be accommodated. Now, we know that there's the existing culvert that restricts the ability to really provide a full sidewalk, but I think there should be some details shown as to how pedestrians could be accommodated safely from this site to get up to the existing sidewalk system on Smith Clove. And the other traffic comments were already addressed previously, so.
Questions for Phil? No? All right. All right, so Natalie? Go ahead.
Address the sidewalks.
So I know with Natalie, we're going to go into your comments, and we ultimately are looking for feedback and then a secret determination so they can move in front of the ZBA. The big issue, and I keep bringing it up, is the water over there. This is from last month's rain there. This is actually, if you watch the video of this, the water's flowing from your parcel, not your parcel, but your applicant's parcel, across Falkirk and into the creek bed. Now, I've only lived here 8 years. This is the second time this has happened there. Now, this is indisputable that putting any sort of a structure there or impervious surface there is going to make this problem inherently worse. It's just there, if you talk to any of the residents that live on that block, or you've been, I think it was Irene was the last time, and then that torrential rain we had last month, the house directly across the street from the stone house had a foot of water in the basement. And you can actually, if you watch this video, and I should have brought it with me tonight, and I didn't, you actually see the water rolling off the property, the property that they want to put these townhouses across Falkirk and into Woodbury Creek. So my biggest concern and my biggest worry is no matter what is put there, 7 units, 12 units, 10 units, 100 units, how is this going to be mitigated? I mean, how do you design to mitigate this?
So, whether there's impervious surface there or there's not, we have to design the plan so that we raise these buildings up out of the flood zone. That's what my first floor elevation is, 2 foot above the 100-year flood zone elevation. So that water's gonna be in your parking lot where your car's are, or that water's gonna be on the grass and it's going to pay. Either way, you're having this situation, but the idea is that we're developing a site plan to at least contend with the rise in flood water, so we are not impacting the structures themselves. We have a stormwater management system that's proposed underneath the parking lot. In a condition like that stormwater management system very well will flood. That's going to be how it operates at some points when there's intense storms. That was discussed the first time around the 7-unit plan we proposed. We also put a tie gate on the outlet of that 7-unit stormwater management system so that
Right, and I think like one of the challenges that, Mike and his team face are this requirement that there can be no rise in floodwaters as a result of this development. So however it's flooding currently, once this development is built, it can't flood, those floodwaters can't be increased. It can't be offset to another property, because of this development. So he has to design the site and the structures and basically do a cut and a fill, if you will, to offset that rise condition.
Right, but this board is being asked to consider a plan that makes disturbances to a watershed area.
Oh, no, I mean, there's definitely things
And
here.
It's already clear that with no impervious surface,
Right.
it can't handle these, you want to call it a 100-year storm, that seems to be happening every 4 weeks now, just because of whatever's going on in the environment. So, I mean, to me, any plan that is going to make any sort of a change to, and I get it, I understand that there's stormwater management solution and that there's areas outside of the buffer zone that can be disturbed, but I don't know,
I agree.
making any changes inside the buffer zone to me is just ludicrous at this point. It's not going to be, it's going to take the water, push it around the building, and it's going to push it into other people's houses. It's just what's going to happen. Water's going to follow the path of least resistance.
But I think what Matt was trying to tell you is that I have to provide a site plan that has a zero net fill condition associated with it. So in other words, there's no more fill there after construction than there is before construction.
But the water, it's going to change the pattern of the water because it's not going to flow in the same direction.
It will change to the benefit of less stormwater change within the need of the parking lot can accept some of that ponding that you see in the photo.
This wasn't ponding. This was Woodbury Creek connecting from one side to another.
I understand what you're saying, but some of that water will actually go inside that stormwater system. It should actually decrease the elevation of what you see in that photo. That's the goal we're trying to accomplish. It might actually function potentially better after than before.
A lot of mights, a lot of coulds, a lot of shoulds.
Look, if I dig a big hole in the ground in that area there, will that water decrease in elevation?
Yes, but then it'll get to the top of the hole and overflow.
But that's what I'm doing with the stormwater management system.
Okay.
in the park.
All right, so you have your comparisons, right, for us to review? Okay. You want to put them up, or?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, essentially, there haven't been there's not a new submittal on the 12-unit plan. This really was just a comparison, like you talked about, for the 7 units versus the 12 units. And really, our memo just kind of comments on a couple of things. Number one is, Mike has provided this analysis about fill and disturbance in the riparian buffer and also floodplain. But one of the things that isn't discussed is the impervious coverage or the impervious surfaces. So with the 12-unit plan, the parking area and the dumpster are now proposed in the riparian zone, where with the 7-unit plan, it was really just that retaining wall in the back. And then the other thing I just kind of wanted to point out for the board is if the 7-unit plan was presented to you today with the new regulations of the water quality protection overlay, the applicant would be required to comply, and the planning board would still be having these discussions about disturbance in the riparian zone and disturbance in the buffer zone. So, for example, the 7-unit plan proposed the stormwater management facility in a grassed area behind the proposed townhouse developments, where the 12-unit plan has that beneath the paved surface. You might consider, well, we want to move that stormwater management forward and underneath the paved surface and then avoid having that retaining wall altogether and essentially avoiding any disturbance or fill or grading required in the riparian zone. And again, these are just like if that happened, if you were just presented with the 7-unit plan. Also, the difference between the 7-unit and the 12-unit plan is now the applicant has that third lot. So if the 7-unit plan was shifted 60 feet to the plan west, again, then it might avoid any of that disturbance in the riparian and buffer zone. Again, that is being, there's a comparison here to kind of say, hey, there would be more fill or would be more disturbance with the 7-unit plan, but in reality, if that was presented to you today, it's not necessarily the case because you would be considering these issues anew. And then the only other thing I just kind of wanted to point out for the board with this issue with the riparian and buffer zone is the code is pretty clear about the findings that the board has to make as far as allowing this development to occur in those areas. You know, and I can read that again for you. It's also just kind of reiterated in our memo. But like some of the things for the riparian zone, which should have no disturbance at all, no impervious, no disturbance, anything, is that there's no practical alternative to realize a compelling need of the community related to health, safety, and welfare, which need outweighs the loss of protection to the water supply. Such land disturbance is necessary to avoid the likelihood that substantially all uses for which the property is zoned and suitable are precluded. You know, so some of those things, and it basically goes on to say, so as to deny the owner all economically beneficial or productive use of the property, you know, akin to a regulatory taking of the property. In the determination, the planning board shall consider whether the applicant has minimized the proposed disturbance to the areas closest to the affected water body, the proposed use is compatible, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I think maybe there's like addressing these particular points would be helpful, and, you know, making a finding either yay or nay on any one of them might help steer this in the right direction. And then as far as the buffer area is concerned, there are also similar findings, but again, that buffer area, there can be disturbance, there can be, you know, fill and impervious surfaces, so it's less, in my opinion, restrictive. And I mean, I think it is, it just is. So, and that's all I have, really is, again, you know, we defer to our prior memo on the comments on the 12-unit plan and the technical aspects of that. But just for comparison purposes, I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention.
Would the previous plan as presented been approved under today's?
Well, that's kind of what I was describing, is that the water quality protection overlay was not in effect at that time. So, no, I think that you would have to look, I mean, I can't say no or yes, right? But the riparian zone, the disturbance that was proposed in the plan at that time, we'd be having those same discussions, you know, like, hey, you're proposing a retaining wall and stormwater management in that area, you got to try to move it out to the best of your ability, or, you know, and then we have to take a hard look at the code and, you know, can we make a finding that it's okay for you to do that? So what I was saying is that technically that stormwater management facility could be underneath the pavement like it is in the 12-unit plan, and that would obviate the need for the retaining wall. So maybe not, you know, you might not see that.
Okay, thank you.
The issue we had originally was that, you take a look at the parking lot, the steps versus the flood. If I take the stormwater management system in the center and try to put it underneath the parking lot, I won't have enough room for my utilities. So it's real difficult to move that system in the parking lot because I've got a narrow parking lot. In the 12-unit plan, my parking lot's longer, so I was able to kind of extend that system further underneath the parking lot and make it fit. If you take a look at the retaining wall impervious area and compare it to the impervious area for that little piece of parking area and the dumpster that's in the 50-foot riparian zone, I believe the retaining wall would generate more impervious surface in that case. So those are the reasons why I had a hard time doing this. What else I could look at?
Was the retaining wall solely proposed just to accommodate the stormwater management facility? Yeah. So, I mean, again, I think that, you know, while there would be constraints and some design difficulties, my comment about having that third lot and shifting it to the east or to the west, and also, you know, again, you would just have to look at it anew, you know what I mean? So while this comparison is helpful, you know, that plan is no longer valid, you know, and you have to kind of look at the one that's before you and the code now.
And I do appreciate the idea of using the third lot to move everything, I guess, to the left, but the applicant didn't purchase that third lot so that you get a negative return on their investment. To purchase the third lot for 7 lots, there's just no return on that investment for the applicant. So, I mean, that's for certain not what the goal of this whole process was. And I'm just being very blunt and frank with the comment, that is
but then your applicant should have done more due diligence before he purchased the lot.
Yeah, I don't think that's really the board's concern.
Yeah.
Well, listen, the board's concern should be whether we're meeting all the regulations and all the rules and.
And right now, I don't
Right,
think,
right now you're not.
you're not, because you could scale down your development and you could be out of the zones. Or you could put a different use there.
Or, no, or we can meet, or we can provide you with a proper stormwater management plan, and we can come in and show you that there's no adverse impact but for us, for the construction we plan in either the riparian zone or the buffer zone. That's what's allowed in your code.
We haven't received that information yet.
Okay.
No, but it's allowed.
Okay.
For you to simply say, I mean, your comment was, I don't see, and I think it's insane to allow any disturbance.
I didn't use the word insane.
You said it would be ridiculous. What did you say?
Okay, regardless, it doesn't matter. Let's get
I'm
back to
not
what's
sure
before us.
why.
No, let Kelly finish.
Let's get back to, this is a permitted use in this district. However, it has to meet certain criteria, certain findings that need to be made. As you know, the process where we are right now, the applicant provided this to show you what was previously approved versus what is being proposed now. Again, not all the laws are the same. This happens in projects frequently. This is just one that you're seeing right now. Where this stands right now is the applicant needs to go back. They have our memo, they have everybody's memo here, and evaluate it from a seeker perspective. That may address some of your concerns, it may not. There may need to be mitigation measures that involve scaling back. We don't know, because those studies haven't been provided yet. So that's where we are right now, waiting for that submission by the applicant. But I think that this was made to show you just really an overlay of how the property exists, what was proposed and approved, what is proposed now. And that's all I have to say.
So we'll wait for the submissions.
We will wait for the submissions, and if they can establish that, then you have information. If it needs to be mitigated, it needs to be mitigated. But you will know that when you get the submission.
Okay.
At the last meeting, the board gave an indication they preferred the 7-lot plan over the 12-unit plan, 7-unit plan versus the 12-unit plan. The applicant is willing to probably consider going back to the 7-unit plan, if that's what this board's intention is that they'd like to see. We're trying to have a constructive meeting here tonight to have some feedback and dialogue back and forth to establish a way forward for the project. That's all we're here for tonight. We're not intentionally trying to argue with anybody. We want to just find a way to get some feedback from the board, find a way forward, and then try to design the project such that it will meet your code and be properly designed to mitigate any issue that could arise. That's all we're here for tonight. If this board is more interested in the 7-unit plan, we can go back and take a look at the 7-unit plan, but it's going to be on 2 lots.
Right.
And we can come back and I can try to improve that 7-unit plan better than it was before. If that's something the board is interested in, you can certainly look to do that. But we need
What's
to
the
get
board
some
want to see?
feedback here to help us guide which way to move forward.
Less is better, but I don't know why we couldn't go over to 3 lots with the 7-unit plan. That's gonna stop more disturbances.
No. What do you think, Evan?
No, I agree that if you could do less disturbance, but is the western lot, that, when you say redoing the 7-lot plan to potentially mitigate some concerns, would that mean moving the 7-lot to the west, or just improving it within?
We would propose a 7-lot, 7-unit plan on the original 2 lots, but I will try to look at making more design improvements to minimize any disturbances affecting.
Rich?
You know, if the applicant wants to spend the money to come up with the 12-lot plan and all the mitigation, I think we have to take a look at it. If he wants to spend the money, whether, you know, I think it's up to him.
Well, I think that's what you're trying to find out from this board, which way this board is leaning.
We're spending the money either way, so you know, we do have the alternative of telling you that the 7, you know, if you want to reduce the density of the project, you know, there is a path for us to tell the client that he's got to consider the 7-unit plan.
I don't think we can tell that on any submission, but obviously it's more risk with the 12 than the 7, in my opinion. Based upon what we know today.
The other thing is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 7-unit plan would not require us to go to the CPA, that's correct. I think they're against it.
I'd have to look, I didn't look at that because I didn't know it was,
Over 42,000 square feet and then 6,000.
Yeah, Mike's more familiar with what it would be.
That wouldn't require us to go to the CPA.
I don't know if there's parking in the front yard still or something like that, but. Yeah. Sure. And then the only other thing I would suggest, you know, just for Mike and the applicant to consider is that, you know, that riparian zone in the code is really, again, meant to leave that area undisturbed. So with the 7-unit plan, you know, taking all of the development and infrastructure improvements outside of that is, you know, it takes that off the table, essentially, for the board to have to make another finding on that, you know? So that's just
so it's
my
an
suggestion.
urge to try and pull
Yeah.
it out.
I thought the code does, there is an out in the code where, I mean, there are certain circumstances where you can disturb within the riparian zone, but you have to meet certain criteria.
I think, yeah. I don't know, I think the comment was meant to encourage you to try and pull it out so that we don't have to get through to that.
We understand that.
Okay.
And we know the goal is not, but,
Like,
you know, in
yeah.
our circumstance, it's really,
I don't know, engineers can get pretty creative.
Yeah, and just to kind of like reiterate, like disturbance in the riparian zone that the board or the building department has had to consider to date, and I think it even lists some examples in the code, or like a flagpole or a fence, or, you know, things that are really minor and really not impactful to that, what is supposed to be a buffer strip for the, you know, Woodbury Creek or any protected water body, so just pointing that out.
But if we're back to the dumpster, I think that was where some of our conversations last time.
Dumpsters are the same spot in both plans, it's actually closer to the 7.
I'm only using it as an example.
But again, we can try to go back to that 7-year plan and try to improve that 7-year plan from the original plan that was approved. I think that may be our best way
the
forward.
thing we should do is take a look at both plans. If in fact, for some reason, if the best we can do with the 7 is still worse than the best we can do with the 12, then the board may want to consider the 12. And we still have to go to the CPA on that. So.
Okay.
And I just wanted to